Welcome to the Brad and Taylor Show. Today we have Josh Sterling.
You're listening to The Brad and Taylor Show, a podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to pursue their passions. We're sitting down with some of the best to learn how they got started and some lessons they learned along the way.
Hey Josh, how's it going?
Hey guys, great, good to be here.
Oh yeah, awesome. So let's get started. So tell us a little bit about you, kind of like what do you actually do?
So I own a property management company and a portfolio of real estate that we built up over the years, starting back in September of '09 with one single family house to today, somewhere around 950 units.
Oh,
Nice.
wow.
Portfolio
Nice
and a
work.
couple hundred more in third party management.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you were younger, did you plan on, is this what you had planned for the future? Or did you have something else, or did you like, I'm buying a house, we're just going for it?
No, this was it was pretty much accidental, or I'd say I fell backwards into it. I think going back to childhood, I don't know that I had a plan, but I know in high school I started to realize that everybody needs to pick a career, and at that time it was go to college, get a good job, and buy a house for yourself, right? And so that was my goal, and I thought, hey, what's a good career? How about I'll go be an airline pilot? So I started out, went to school to do that, and did that for a few years. And the recession of '08 really beat the airlines up, and I found myself feeling a lot of financial instability and really not knowing where to go. And so I started buying rental properties mostly out of frustration and not having a skill set or a knowledge to do anything else.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you said, where'd you do your schooling for aviation? Because actually, I was in aviation before doing this. For like
Oh,
10
really?
years.
Yeah, I went to a school called Embry-Riddle. I'm sure you've heard of
Yep.
it in Daytona.
Yep.
And I
Embry-Riddle.
flew airlines for about 6 years, and after that, I was an air traffic controller for about another 6.
Oh, really? That's awesome. Good for you. That's awesome. So,
Exciting.
tell us about your first. So you said you got your first. You started to get a amount of frustrations. When did you like that first one? Tell us about that first one you decided to get.
Yeah, so it really started because thanks to aviation, I walked in one day in the recession to go start a trip, and I had a letter in my mailbox that said, "Hey, the airline's getting cut in half. We've lost a bunch of flying, and
Huh.
effectively, you're getting a 50% pay cut." And so there's a bunch of other people, and the frustration of I've done my job. I've been a good pilot. I've shown up to work, and
Yeah.
I spent 6-7 years getting the knowledge and the experience to be able to take this job, or to be able to do the job. It's frustrating that out of nowhere that can just be snatched away from you with a matter of weeks notice. So
Yeah.
I thought to myself, what can I possibly do? The only thing I know how to do is fly airplanes, and that wasn't looking great at the time. So I said, what can I possibly do here? I've been flying all over the country and North America and seeing real estate and prices just cratering. And it's just made sense to me that you can buy a property. And at that time I could buy something for, $40,000-$50,000 that would rent for $1,000 or $1,200 a month. And, quick math, those numbers seem to work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I ventured into my first one with really no money. I used some 0% credit cards, balance transferred, and was able to go out and start that way.
Wow. That's awesome. So when did you get your second one? So you got that one, and then was it like right after it, or did it kind of wait a little bit and then get your second one?
Took a couple months. I think the first one was September of '09, and that was more of somebody else's flip. I really didn't have a lot of knowledge in rehab or property restoration or anything like that. So it seemed great to buy somebody else's product already done.
Yeah.
After buying that and getting it put together, probably 4 or 5 months later, I realized, hey, I can probably find a way to remodel this on my own, save money on it, do it cheaper so they're not making the spread, and do a better job at it too, get a nicer product. So
Yeah.
that became the new model, which worked really well because I was basically adding value forcing value in. And pretty quickly I started to realize I could force that value and eventually flip houses to myself, which is kind of how we started to grow.
Yeah. And then when
Okay.
did you said you do pretty much property management now. Like, how did you go from doing that to probably managing, you said 960, you said?
We're managing about 1150-ish,
1150.
somewhere
Gotcha.
in that
Cool.
range.
Cool.
Most from our own portfolio, but we do some selective third-party management
Yeah.
as well. And that was really built out of growing the portfolio. I built it and was self-managing through the first couple of years up to about 50 units. And once I hit about 50 units, working a full-time job and self-managing them, that got to be quite the workload.
Yeah, I
So
bet.
I looked to hand it off to third party management and couldn't really find anybody that I thought, was going to be able to do the job that I thought needed to be done, right? Run it the way that I had already been running
Yeah.
it. And so ground up, started with, one part-time assistant and built a property management company that we're about 35 employees today and 4 offices.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Where are all the offices? Like what locations are you guys at, I guess?
So we're Southeast Michigan and Northern Ohio. So our main
Got it.
office is actually we're under construction right now on a brand new site in the neighboring town. But right now our main office is in Southgate, Michigan.
Mhm.
It
Okay.
will shortly, say the end of the year, be in Wyandotte, Michigan, and we've got offices in Toledo, in Dearborn Heights, Toledo's Ohio, and then Dearborn Heights, Michigan, and Shelby Township, Michigan.
Cool.
Awesome. I know you have a lot of properties under you guys right now. Do you guys have any goals for the next year to kind of expand that more?
I'm always expanding it. This has actually been a really good through COVID times and even the start to 2021 has been a lot of growth for the portfolio, not so much from a unit count, but from a cash flow
Yeah.
and placing capital to work standpoint. We've been buying a lot more triple net retail type deals as the markets shun those a little bit through COVID. I've found a little bit of opportunity there. Um, but with that being said, as of last week, I've got 0 in the pipeline, and that's probably the
Huh.
first time in 10 years. And I think that's a little bit indicative of what the market's doing. We're not able to find deals that meet the return requirements that we've got, and
Yeah.
so if that's the case, we'll sit and wait until we can.
When
Yeah.
you guys are going through the properties, finding these deals, what is the one thing you guys look for? What are a couple things that maybe stick out in the property that you want to make sure? Is it all location? Is it just return on investment in the location? What all goes into it?
It's certainly, yeah, absolutely location. There's certain, markets that we avoid altogether, like the city of Detroit, for example, and,
Yeah.
and there's some rougher areas surrounding that. We don't touch that. We won't invest there. We won't manage there. It's just some people do well with it, but that's just not our game.
Yep.
So we're suburbs, I would say, more higher end, on the low end, maybe a C plus neighborhood, all the way up to your Class A markets. And then as far as the return on numbers. I typically underwrite. A lot of the acquisition will be for our own portfolio here. So when I underwrite that, it's going to be underwritten the same as if I were to syndicate it to make sure I'm comparing apples to apples here.
Mhm.
So I'm typically underwriting for a cash flow of what we call is 16% average annual return for the passive investor. So if you look at it, if you've got a syndication, you might have, let's say, a 70-30 GP override. So that 70% passive investor, I need to underwrite as if I were to get them 16%, whether or not I'm buying it all myself or syndicating it.
Yeah.
Make sure we're comparing the exact same numbers either way.
Yeah. What is the worst property you guys have been to? Just trying to pick out the new location or the new property. What's the worst one you guys have been
Oh my
to?
God! I mean, that's a. I'll tell you.
I'm sure
I've been
there's
to
a
some
few.
terrible properties, so we could go all day on that one. But I was at a property. It was maybe not the worst one I've seen, but the most astounding one to me.
Okay.
About 3 years ago, I went to see a good size 180-ish unit property in a real nice market. It was built in 2008, so at the time maybe a 10-year-old construction. So I was really, really excited to go see this property. I thought it was going to be awesome. And I got there and I was completely amazed at how run down it was for being 10 years old. Basically, it looked like they had built the property and then not touched it for 10 years, which is
Wow.
pretty much what happened. And
Yeah.
the thing that was interesting is why you have to ask yourself, why would someone do that? So looking into it a little more, what I found is that these the particular investors had raised capital with the promise of a really high pref return, something like 11%. And so what I believe happened here is they were forced to pay this huge pref return, which made them unable to reinvest in their property, even just the deferred maintenance, and just really ran a brand new property into the ground. I mean, it had millions of dollars in deferred maintenance after 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Did you guys end up getting that one too, and you fixed it up? And
I didn't. I couldn't touch it. It languished on the market for quite a while, and I lost track of what happened with it. But it did not go anywhere right away for the same reasons we couldn't touch it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it would cost quite a bit to get up and running again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about like if you had to start over, and like or somebody that's kind of getting into the like just wants to get their like first rental property. Like how would you advise them to do it, or to think about, or maybe a way you could have changed it and done it a little differently with your first one?
Sure. So, getting the first one, I think, is key. That's kind of a hurdle that you have to get over. And there's a lot of people that want to get into this and then just don't make that jump to the first property.
Yeah.
So for me, I used 0% credit cards. I didn't have any money. And that was able to come together for me, but a little bit different time, different market. If I had to go back and do it over again, I grew really, really slow the first couple of years, mainly because I didn't know how to find capital. So the turning point for me was a couple years in, learning how to package these properties together. At the time, it was only single families, package them together and get commercial, I call commercial blanket loans. So a portfolio type lender that would lend on several properties at once. And if I could go back and do it over again, I would have started with that very early on. And I could have really accelerated the growth cycle and the unit count when the market was really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see a bunch of books over there behind you. Do you have a book that you could recommend to anybody?
Oh gosh, let's see. So there's all kinds of real estate books in there, and I love several real estate books, but I think my favorite or my probably the best recommendation I would have would be The E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
That's one of my favorites too.
That's a book that really kind of taught me to work myself out of the day-to-day of running the business. There you go. Yeah. And just really allowed me to accelerate the portfolio growth because I was finally not bogged down by the day-to-day.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. So how can people get a hold of you?
You can reach me. First, you can find us on our website, epicpropertymanagement.com. We're all over Southeast Michigan, Northern Ohio. You can reach me on Facebook, Instagram, JK Sterling, and email josh@epicpm.com.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for coming on and sharing your story with us today.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Are these working?
All right.
Here we go.
Oh, there we go. I think they're working. Should we tell them?
Mine keeps falling. It doesn't like my voice.
What do we got to tell them?
Subscribe.
Subscribe? What do we got to point at? Hey, I think there's a subscription button. Like
it might be there.
It might be right there too.
Somewhere.
Find
it. It's red.
Yeah. And it's blue. It's green. I don't really know.
It's a color.
This mic isn't even attached. Did you plug these in? Well, I guess.
I wonder if they can hear us.
Yeah, I wonder if they hear us. Well, we should probably tell them if they can hear us. We should probably tell them also give us a 5-star review for listening on Apple. That'd be cool.
5 stars, review. Guys.
Share it with everybody they can think of.
We won't take 4 stars.
I mean, Taylor, I don't even think these are on. I mean,
I don't think this is working.
This is not working.